Hey everyone, and welcome to this episode of the Mic'd Podcast. I'm Mike, a hairdresser of over 20 years. One of the best parts of my job is the conversations that I get to have with all of my clients. We talk about anything and everything and invite you to listen in as we get mic'd up for today's conversation. On this, the first episode, we have Sarah with us in the chair. Sarah is a 35-year-old stay-at-home mom. She has 4 kids who range from 3 years old to 10 years old. Today, we talked about the struggles of being a parent and the challenges of raising kids in this crazy world. I hope you enjoy. All right. How are you?
Good. I haven't seen you in a while.
I know, it's been quite a while.
What's been going on?
Same old for me, but what's the latest and greatest?
Oh, well, I feel like it was winter, and then here we are, end of school. Summer's here. So it's been busy.
Kids are good?
Yeah, good. Really busy, but good. Sports and end of year assignments. So I'm excited for summer, just to slow down a little bit.
What do you guys got going this summer?
We're not going anywhere this year, or this summer. But I've signed him up for quite a few camps and stuff, and I'm torn because I love the lazy days at home with not much agenda, but with four kids under 10, it's kind of nice. Like, okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to get out of the house, and then there's less screen time and less fighting. And I feel like the house needs a break too. Mom needs a break. The house needs a break.
Sounds like mom needs a break more than anything.
Yes.
What
about you guys?
Kids are excited for summer. We're just happy to have some time together. Mm-hmm. I guess we'll see how it goes, but
yeah,
I don't know. The kids are great. They're gonna have. We made a list of all of the stuff that they can do this summer. They get so excited, wanting to just take it, mark things off, and say,
so cute. Their little bucket list.
But they put get a trampoline on the list 10 times.
Did they?
So I think they're kind of excited for the
more they put it out there.
Oh man.
They'll bring it to fruition.
They're killing me.
You guys have a good yard for that too. It's pretty flat.
It should be all right. But I don't know. It's hard to keep the kids entertained. Mm-hmm. I feel like now at this day and age you get kids that just think that the parents' job is to entertain them. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I'm bored. I want this. Yeah. I need that. And it's like, when I was a kid, my parents were always just like, go outside. Just find something. Go play in a dirt pile. Go do something. Totally. And now kids are like, can we go to the store and will you buy me this? And will you buy me that? And it's like, no, go.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
Like, what do you do to keep your kids entertained or not entertained, because it's not your job to entertain them? But
no, but I have talked. Okay, so it's making me think of, it's not a parent's job to entertain them, but I've also told my kids, as your mom, it is not my job to scurry behind you and pick up every little thing as you drop it and to do all of your laundry and put it away. I'm like, my job as your mom is to love you, to teach you, and to play with you. Like I want more than just cleaning up after you or coming up with stuff. So I don't know. I think outside is huge though, as far as keeping them occupied.
So do you do chore charts? Do you do what's your system, I guess?
Really, I don't know. I let go of systems a long time ago with kids because I would just get frustrated. And so it is more go with the flow, but every Saturday they clean their rooms, clean their toy room, and then the older boy vacuums.
Because you've got
3 boys and then a little baby girl. So I don't know. We're not, it would be nice to be a little more structured, but I think the biggest thing is just teaching them to pick up as they go so that it's not such a big mess. Like I told my 9-year-old, if you would just pick up a little bit each day, then you wouldn't have to take so much time on Saturday. We would have more time to do the important things and play. So
how do they respond to that?
Typical kids.
You're the worst.
Uh-huh. Yeah. So I don't know. And then they unload the dishwasher. And they really, I think the biggest expectation is that they take care of each other. Like I kind of purposely ask them to get things for each other because I can't be in 4 different places at once, and nor should I be. And so I try to teach them, like, hey, Ira, can you get Vivian some cereal? Or Leo, can you help do these flashcards with Vaughn? Then it just feels, then they can learn to depend on each other. If they can do that at this young age, then as they get older and there's bigger things that maybe they aren't comfortable to come to me with, which I hope they'll always be, but I want them as siblings to be really close and like count on each other.
And was that is that because of how you were raised? Like, were your parents very much that same way, or was that something that you and your husband came up with?
No. I just noticed that I do it. And I think that's a good point. I bet it is just how I naturally do it, because that is very much how I was raised. So I was one of 6, and my mom was home all the time and available, but not always available though, because with 6 kids, you're stretched pretty thin.
Yeah.
And as siblings, we're still so close. And I don't know that she intentionally let us rely on each other. Maybe she did. I should ask her, but she could take it the wrong way.
Let's call her right
now.
now.
No, but I think it's created a really beautiful relationship with my siblings, because when there's something I need to talk about, my siblings are the first I call, aside from my husband now. Sometimes still my siblings are first. But
okay.
Yeah, because, I remember just hanging out as a kid. I don't know where my mom was or what she was doing.
But that's how, like, back in the, this is aging myself or whatever, but like back in those days, literally a kid could just wander on their bike somewhere.
Oh, yeah. All day.
And parents, as long as they came home, it was fine.
Yeah. Come home when the street lights come on.
Yeah. We may have been covered in mud or, a disaster, but we always made our way home. Now it's scary.
No, I remember going to the elementary school during summer with my neighbor Joey and looking for tadpoles in the gutters. And we would take the storm drain. There's a storm drain, like huge, like a canal you could walk through. We'd go through that and then end up like downtown.
Like the Pennywise, like in Stephen King's It, where you walk through the...
Yeah, so we'd be, and like my mom didn't know. She's just at home. So I'm sad for my kids that they can't have that. But yeah, that was the best. But I was thinking about that now as a mom, like, oh my gosh, we were gone for hours, like at the school with no one around, just looking for tadpoles.
Dude, what do you think the craziest thing you did when you were little that your parents didn't know about?
Oh, okay. Well, this one they did find out about because I almost had to go to the hospital, but my sister had an inhaler. I was probably 6 at best, but my sister has asthma, so she had an inhaler. And she showed me once that if you puff it, it looks like you're smoking. And so I got that inhaler and I was just pretending I was smoking. But it's a steroid. And so I was so sick and shaky, and they could just tell something was wrong, but I was so scared to tell them I was pretending I was smoking. But yeah, so I got in big trouble for that because it also, went up against our values as a family that I would pretend to smoke. But that's the first thing that came to mind. I don't know.
I used to get the candy cigarettes.
Yes.
No, that was the best candy. No, it was like the actual candy ones that were hard candy, and you'd have a pack and we'd roll it up in our sleeves and think that we were so cool.
So funny.
But where'd you grow up? Where'd you grow up?
Ventura area in California. But yeah, and it was different there. So I'm relieved that my parents were as lax as they were on some things, because my dad was a helicopter pilot for LAPD.
Okay.
And so we had pretty tight, especially as we were teenagers, we were pretty monitored on where we could go, what we could do. And all for good reason. Like my dad saw the worst of the worst. And so I was convinced there's perverts everywhere. So, but yeah, like we could never go into the city for concerts. I mean, he would tell me, yeah, I'll take you to that show, but I'm going to take my gun and I'm going to stay with you the whole time. And now I wish I would have taken him up on it because I missed so many good shows because they couldn't send us into Hollywood. And
I mean, but how old were you at this point?
at this point, teenager,
16,
16.
17?
Yeah. And so,
Yeah, I don't know.
but yeah. So like with that said, I'm shocked that we were able to just kind of play in the neighborhood the way we were, but I'm really glad that we could because I think that's such an important part of childhood.
But with your dad, like he would see all this stuff being a police officer, but would he come home and tell you about it? Or was he just like, just know it's bad?
No, yeah. And so then I was there so, frustrated that we couldn't go and I'd see my friends that could go and he would tell us some things, enough to kind of scare us, but not too many details.
So do you feel like there was ever, I mean, I don't know if they were like, that's not like they're concerned in that sense, but like, was there anything that you ever felt like you really did miss out on, like concerts and stuff, but was there other stuff that you missed because you felt like it was?
Okay, here's what I think I missed. I think I missed the opportunity to feel inner strength that like I could go do those things and be safe, like a sense of confidence, because I would have, but that's so easy to say now because as a mom, it's like, I don't let my kids go much beyond my street corner. But if we could have been prepared and just said, hey, this is the type of thing that goes on. If we take these precautions, I'd feel comfortable with you going, but it was just absolutely no, out of the question. And so, I mean, what those precautions would be, maybe you're going with this group of friends, but back then there wasn't even cell phones. Yeah. So I don't blame them and I have no no hard feelings, but I wish there was a way that I could have gone and explored a little more when I was a young teenager.
But so do you feel because of that, like now as a parent, you've, I don't want to say loosen the reins, but you're actually allowing your kids to, I don't know, be a little more out there or adventurous? I mean, again, the times are different. There's different things happening now than there were back then. But
I think because I was raised, I'm doing the same thing to my kids. I can already see, like, I see the value in them, being able to explore. And they're still really young. So as teenagers, I hope that I will give them more space. Mm-hmm. But right now, I mean.
Because how old is your oldest?
11. Okay. So I have time to see kind of how I navigate. Because teenage years are totally a different ballgame from right now. Right now is the somewhat easier stage because you have more control. I think that's the biggest thing is I still keep quite a bit of control. And it's hard because we live in a time where they can't really run free. I mean, just in my neighborhood this past week, 2 blocks from where we live, there was an attempted kidnapping.
Really?
Yeah. And it just
Just
makes me sick.
Broad daylight?
Broad daylight. It was like around 4 p.m. I don't know too many of the details. But just that, I was telling my husband, I'm like, this is why I am the way I am. It's happening. But I hate that. I hate that for my kids and for me, that I can't allow them that independence. And I know that's where my parents were, is sure, they would have loved to let me go to music venues because I was super into music. I played guitar. They would have loved that for me, but at what cost, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so now it's like, my gosh, in our own front yards, not even, you know, going into the city or whatever. It's in our own schools, in our own yards. And so, it's hard to let go.
So do you guys talk to your kids like about that stuff, or do you try to just...
We talk to them and and I tell them whenever we do talk about it, because it is scary, and I try to be careful about too many details, but they have to know the gist of what does go on.
Yeah.
And I always tell them, like, I'm telling you this not so that you have to be scared, but so that you can be prepared. Not that they feel like they can take on anybody, but just so that they have some tools in their back pocket that can think, okay, if this were to happen, this is what I would do, you know, or that they know that they can always come and talk to us no matter what. Like, they would never be in trouble if something awful happened, or, you know, they can always come to us. So I don't know. I talk to them quite a bit about it.
I mean, I think nowadays you have to talk to your kid. You have to be open with them. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
we grew up in an area where it was, nobody asked anything. Nobody said anything. It was just kind of figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, I mean, I remember like being told about like, don't get in a stranger's car.
Yes.
You know, if somebody comes up to you and says, hey, your parents told me to pick you up.
Yes,
You'd be
I remember
like,
that
what's
specific
the password?
Yes.
You know,
I remember that exact conversation. Yeah.
but now, yeah. So do you get like how specific do you guys get? Like, or is there topics that you're like, let's...
Okay, so like in this instance, we told them just this afternoon, like we were sitting down at dinner and we said this afternoon, a kid just a few blocks from our house there's somebody that tried to kidnap them. And then we said, how did we say it? We're just like, unfortunately that happens. It doesn't happen a ton, but it does happen. And so we want you guys to be aware of that, so that, because my kids walk home from the bus stop. And so we just explained to them, you always stay together. You know, and the older one, you don't let the younger ones run ahead of you or stray behind. And then the biggest thing that we've emphasized with them, kind of regardless of what the danger is a few things. It's like, adults never need your help. Like, there's no adult that really needs help finding somebody's house or lost a dog. Like, an adult doesn't need your help, and you can never hurt an adult's feelings, because often I think they'll be like, oh, you're going to hurt my feelings if you don't keep this secret, you know? So never secrets.
I like that advice.
Yeah. An adult doesn't need your help. And then a big thing too is if they are approached by someone, never go up to, like, don't get close to the car and scream and run. But like, gosh, as a parent, that's so scary. It's like, what else can I tell you without absolutely freaking you out? So we try to give them as much as we can. And like, my one son asked, well, why do people even want to kidnap them? And I didn't get into that, because I feel like the why, they don't need to know the why right now. And there's lots of reasons why. And so I just said, well,
but I think you're giving them the tools that at least can prevent.
Hopefully. Yeah.
But no, our kids have had a few like online type scares of friends that somebody approaches them or says something to them online and tries to get information out about them. And you're like, dude, now you have to like really caution your kids about how dangerous being online can be. And not just giving them free will to do whatever they want on it. It's scary because there are people that's their full-time job, is to try to lure somebody away.
It's insane.
It's nuts.
Yeah, it's crazy. And the online is one that we need to, I'm kind of an 80-year-old at heart. Like I I know how to
You don't look
text.
it. It's not your fault.
Well, I know how to text, and I can kind of email, and I still write checks. And
Do you
so,
really?
yes, I do. On some of my
I'm
bills,
just kidding. I
they're
shouldn't
still
laugh at
checks. No, and I'm fine with that. It's like I have so much mental energy and a lot of I don't know. Anyway, so I'm not tech savvy, but my children are. They'll show me how to do things, and so that's one I was just talking to my friend about. Like, yeah, I got to get on the ball about even having conversations like those. Like, you don't give any personal information out, and it's just not on my radar because we're not really into games, or my kids, they watch Mark Rober online, and that's about it. So they're pretty sheltered, but they go to friends' houses all the time, and I can't be there to control it. So yeah, I need to give them tools for that end of it. That's one that I don't think about that often.
Oh man, it's a scary day, but.
Mm-hmm.
So what are some other things your parents taught you that you feel like you're now either implementing, or you're like, nah, that didn't work for me as a kid, so I'm going to change and do a little of this or that? Or what are the strengths that you learned?
Okay.
Yeah, let's go that
Open
route.
communication on sex is a big one. Like, and I think that's generational. I don't think
What's
for
sex?
me.
No,
Yeah,
just kidding.
exactly.
I'm just
Exactly.
kidding.
I need to be open. So like I am maybe unfortunately open with my kids about it, because I did not find out the function till I was a senior in high school. Like
It just was never talked about.
Never talked about. And we were opted out of sex ed classes. And so I had zero tools, zero awareness. And that's okay. I'm not upset with my mom. I understand in our culture why. But I feel like that's a major disadvantage to a child, because I even told her, like, if I were to be assaulted, I would have no idea what was happening. I would have thought I was being killed.
And
Like,
in culture, just for if anybody's listening, that's like, so what culture?
oh, very religious
Okay.
upbringing. And yeah, and like we teach abstinence, and it was almost like if you talk about it, that almost gave a child, you just don't want to talk about it because it's so off limits that it becomes taboo. You don't even talk about it.
Mhm.
And I think my mom thought I knew more than I did. And so I think it's just important to ask your kids. And so now, fast forward, as I'm a mom, I was talking to one of my kids, and I think it was actually way too late. He's 9, or he's 8 at the time. And I asked him, I'm like, hey, have you ever wondered how babies are made? And he's like, nope. I'm like, well, that didn't open up much of a conversation, but I just talked a little bit because it needs to be an ongoing conversation, not like a one and done. Because you know what, my parents probably did give me a one and done, but I don't think I understood it, or just I don't even remember that if that conversation happened. But if it did, it was a one-time thing, and so now it's an ongoing conversation with my kids. But when I kind of just brushed the surface of it, my 8-year-old was like, you could have waited till I was 11, Mom. And I'm like, I'm so sorry. I'm like, it's important for you to learn it from me, because you're going to hear kids talking, and because kids your age, none of them know it completely, you're going to get a lot of information that's wrong. And so I want you to learn it from me. And if you do have questions, you come to me. It's not something that we talk about with other kids, because it's their parents' job to teach them. And so I think I'm really grateful that I feel this strongly about it, because then I think I'm a lot more open about it than maybe I would have been had I have had a normal sex education as a kid.
Yeah.
You know?
So I think, honestly, as soon as they start making jokes about it, or you hear them, like we've heard our kids in the back of the car, like whispering to their friends, talking about something. And when you ask them about it, they're so wrong. Like there were some friends of ours, they were talking about sex, and I think they were 11, 12 at the time. And he's like, I know what sex is. That's when the guy pees on the girl.
Oh,
Like,
no, exactly.
close. But no.
But really far. Yeah. And that's where I actually asked my 11-year-old the other day, I'm like, so what do you know about it? Like about sex? Because he's asked me what sexy means and all this stuff. And so I think it's really important to have a conversation rather than, let me sit you down and explain what this is, but asking them, well, what do you know? What have you heard? And it seems to, at least I think my kids are open with me. I think it helps.
Yeah, I don't know. They're hard conversations. They're awkward conversations to have with kids, but as a parent, that's what you have to do.
Yeah, and I don't think it needs to be, like, I don't know. And when they do start getting embarrassed, I just say, gosh, this is the most normal thing ever. Like, it's part of life. Anything that's living has a reproductive process, I don't know. How do you guys do it?
I mean, honestly, I let Allie take care of everything.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got 3 girls, so for me, it's, I don't know. When we do talk to our kids about that stuff, like Allie does a lot of the talking, but I'm always there because I don't want them to be.
Yeah, feel like it's just a mom.
Yeah, it's just
topic.
A mom thing because it
Yeah.
is. It's a
Yeah.
It's an equal parent. I think both parents should be in the room, or it's single parent. They the one parent needs to be there, but I think it's just the act of showing up and being like, this is not an awkward thing to talk about.
Exactly.
With children.
Yeah.
And it's funny because with our oldest, we did, when we talked about it, it was awkward. Like she was more awkward than we were because it's
yes,
like,
exactly.
I don't want to.
How old was she? Do you remember?
10. I think she was 10. But I don't know.
But it's yeah. I think it's good. And to ask questions throughout it is really good. I even asked, so my oldest is a boy, and I will talk. I feel like we do best when we talk when we're driving somewhere or if we're on a walk, like kind of busy doing something. That way we're not looking at each other. That seems to help the kid.
Do you spend a lot of, do you do a lot of one-on-one with your kids? Yes. Or is it all as a group?
No, we try as much as we can. So before our 4th child was born, we were pretty good. Like they would have rotating dates. So every month we would take a different kid on a date.
And this was you and your husband?
Yeah, we would trade turns. But my favorite thing, which we stopped doing once I had my 4th, but I'd like to do it again, is so every month, so let's say your child has a birthday that's on the 20th. So every month on the night of the 20th, whatever night it is, they get to stay up for half hour to 45 minutes with mom and dad. Everybody else goes to bed, but they have that undivided 30 to 40 minutes to choose what they want to do. So it could be play a game, do a puzzle, go on a walk, like do a craft. I'm trying to think of some of the other things we've done, but it's their choice. And then if the other kids interrupt, they get minutes taken off of their night. So, because that one-on-one time is so important. And they open up so much if they have that attention.
That's a great idea.
Yeah. So then, so you just take, if you have a child on the 5th, they get the night of the 5th. And if you do it like that, it's really manageable because you're just at home and you can spend half hour,
And then again, was that something that your parents did with you? Or is that something that you guys just were like, this is important because of...
Yeah. No, I don't remember.
So where did the idea come from, I guess?
I think I was just feeling like, so the idea came from every single night when I tuck my kids into bed, that's when they open up the most. And I realized, it's because they have my undivided attention and they want to tell me all sorts of things that have happened during the day or last week. And I'll find out some of the most, I'm not intimate, but like parts of their little lives that I wouldn't know about. And so but it takes so long. Every night it gets so late. It's like 9 or 10 o'clock by the time they're in bed. And so I just felt like we needed a way to facilitate that one-on-one time without it being everybody every single night, you know? So they still do get their separate tuck-ins and snuggles is what we call them, but they need more than that because the night it just gets too late too quickly. And so that was a way to facilitate that.
So do you think, I mean, this is, I guess as a parent now, are there things like, me and my wife, we've both gone to therapy over things that have happened with like our childhood or whatever. Do you ever think, what am I doing to really mess with my kids?
Absolutely, 1,000%.
Is there anything that if you could go back, would you change?
About
like at this
mine
point,
or
so
theirs?
About theirs. Like you as a parent, is there anything like you're like, oh, that's something I wish I would have, you know, but because time is gone and your kids are still young, but you can make that adjustment as we learn. And I think that's the best part is critiquing ourselves.
Here's something I'm still doing that I know I wish I could let go of is wanting a clean house. Like I wish so bad I could let that go. Because, you know, some of my most angry moments is just when I'm too overwhelmed and the house is a mess. There's pee all over the ground behind the toilet. And then and I'm barefoot in the kitchen and I crunch on cereal after I just hit my foot on a Lego. Like it gets too much. And so the times that I've yelled at my kids, it's been that, like when it's just too messy. But I already know, I'm like, gosh, I wish I should let that go because I'm missing out on a lot of quality time I could be spending with them. But instead I'm, you know, wanting the house cleaned up. And it's hard though, because it's a balance. So as they're getting a little older, I'm trying to teach them like, we should all chip in and do this together. So that way we can spend our time doing fun things than mom cleaning and yelling at you guys to clean your rooms.
Well,
right?
I feel like it's, from the moms that I've talked to, a lot of it, they just want help they want their kids to help them. Yeah. Because they feel like they are doing it alone or.
Yeah, and I'm missing out.
It's just them and their spouse or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's.
And I've told my kids, like, I want more for my life than to pick up after you guys. Like, let's do it together so we can go on a walk around the neighborhood or we can go jump on the trampoline or, I don't know. So I think that and lowering my standards on what is clean is helpful, but it's a constant thing I have to be aware of because it's really easy for me to want things to be real orderly first and then we'll go do the fun stuff or we'll watch a movie once the house is cleaned up. Well, we run out of time and then we don't watch the movie together. So yeah, it's hard.
So do you do a chore chart or like,
no.
How do the kids know what they're supposed to do?
I tell them I should do a chore chart. It would be nice just to be like, look at your chart rather than me having to verbalize every little thing, you know? Yeah.
See, I feel like we just have to tell them. All over and over and over and over. And it's like.
Yeah, it's very fatiguing.
Yeah, you get to the point where you're like, you guys should know. Like, I've told you this every day for a year now. Like, why don't you know what you're supposed to be doing? But trying to be patient with them too. And
exactly. I don't know. I have a friend that has little note cards. So she has an envelope for each one of her kids. And when they come home, they grab the envelope. So it's like, hang up your backpack, put away your shoes, wash your hands, get a snack. And I mean, that doesn't sound like much to ask your kids, but if you have 3 or 4 or 5 kids, to have to say that to each individual one, it's like, well, we could make this more efficient. And then hopefully in time, they would just do that on their own. So my kids have gotten really good at like that stuff on their own, but I don't know. So they'll need therapy. Maybe they'll all live in pigsties because they're like, we had a clean house for long enough.
I don't know about that. Like my mom kept a very, very, very clean house. And now I think that's what's made me, like if things are, I can handle a mess for a little bit.
Yes.
But it's like almost, I feel uneasy at the end of the night.
Me
if
too.
Dishes are in the sink or
Yes.
and I think a lot of that stems from my mom.
Yeah.
Being, keeping the house the way that she did. So as a parent, keep doing what
Yeah, just don't do it with angry energy. I think is what my, like a clean house is great if I could just keep it fun and light, And if everyone would just listen and do it on the first time you asked, it would be ideal.
so that you don't lose your cool.
Exactly.
But that's keeping your cool. That would be what you would change. Like if I could go back and change something, you would say being able to keep my cool.
Absolutely.
Without losing that temper.
Yes. Whether or not it's on a clean house or something else. But I think it's also okay and important for kids to see that. So like I've lost my patience one time that I can think of specifically is with that same 8-year-old. I just lost it on him. And so
like yelled, screamed.
Yeah, just yelled. Yeah. Like we don't spank or hit ever, but yeah, just yelled. And I just came back later once I had a minute and apologized and said, hey, I was acting like a 2-year-old throwing a tantrum. I am sorry. I was yelling. I wasn't using respect or being kind. And of course he's like, oh, it's okay, Mom. And I just said to him, well, no, it's not okay. Like, thank you for forgiving me, but it's not okay. What I should have done is taken a break. Like, I think when people lose their cool, it's because they have not taken a time out. And I explained to him, moms need timeouts too. And so I should have taken a timeout, taken a minute, and cooled down before we talked about this. Yeah. And I think that's important for them to see because it's like, okay, Mom and Dad aren't perfect. And you know what he said to me? Actually, he said, it's okay, Mom, everyone makes mistakes. I'm like, oh, okay, good. Like he gets it.
Yeah. That's crazy. Mm-hmm. I think kids are smarter than we give them credit for, and they do know a lot. But I think as a parent, we sometimes are very critical of the things that we're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. But there was I don't even remember who it was that did the commercial, but it was the commercial of some Dove or something like that. But they did a commercial where they interviewed a bunch of moms and said, what do you think of yourself?
I did see
And they
that.
were all very critical, like, I messed my kid up. I did this, I did that. And then they brought in the kids and interviewed the kids, and they're like, my mom's the best.
Yes. Definitely cried when I watched that because
every parent would cry for that
one.
Oh
my gosh. Yeah. Cause they're a lot more forgiving and they see the good for sure. And we're all so self-critical. Other side. Yeah.
But no, I think that's, and I really do. I think that as long as we're able to critique ourselves and every now and then
have a little self-awareness.
And not even just in parent, I think just critiquing yourself in every aspect of life, parenting, relationships. Mm-hmm. If you can do that, there was a book I read once that had the motivational quote that basically just said, nobody wakes up in the morning and thinks I want to be criticized. But if you want to be great, and it could be anything, if you want to be a great parent, great husband, wife, great at your job, whatever.
Yeah.
Wake up and criticize yourself and take it, whether it's good or bad.
Yeah. Yeah. And do something with it rather than just talking about the same old thing over and over again.
Yeah. No, I think you're doing a great job.
No, thanks. Sure is a fun job. It's the best. Hardest and the best.
Oh, yeah. what do they say? It's the best job with the worst benefits.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no thanks, no bonuses.
Yes.
But I don't know. Being a parent is hard, but it is rewarding. So, anything else? Doing just a little texture on the end, so
perfect.
I won't do a lot because I know we want to keep it blunt. But
just how what's going on with us? Ethan got a new job.
Oh, what's he?
Yeah, that was a big shift for us. So he's, you remember he's a chef.
Yes.
And he's been with the same company for like 11 years, and he was just feeling like it was time to make a shift. And now he's in food manufacturing, which is like totally different avenue than what he's been doing. Totally different end of the food industry than he's been in before. So they produce ready-made foods for like restaurants, airlines, grocery stores. So sky's kind of the limit for types of clients you can work with.
Was that a hard shift for you? Like, I mean, it's always scary when somebody changes jobs or changes careers.
No, because he's so calculated and he doesn't do anything unless he feels like it'll be a good all around. And this job's a lot closer, and it's
I mean, but do you talk about that stuff beforehand, or was he just like, hey, this is happening and
no,
here we go?
we talk about it a lot, which I'm really glad that he does because it affects the whole family. But yeah, so far it's been a exciting change for
How long ago was that? That was just recent?
a couple weeks. Yeah, like a month ago. Yeah, so really new.
Really recent. Was the other company sad to lose him?
Yes, for sure. And I mean, he left on good terms, and he still does some freelance work for them. So that's good.
Do you find a difference in how he is now? Like, is he happier? Like,
I'd say yes, just because it's something new, and like, not that the last place was bad. It's just like fresh eyes, new change of pace, which I think gives anyone a pep in their step. So, yeah. And it's just nice because he's home by 5, where before he was a lot later.
So now you have that co-parent.
Yep. So now dinner is at 5:30 instead of 7:30 or 7.
So now you're
I still don't cook.
Since you're a chef, you can be home. Dinner needs to be on the table at 5:30.
Well, he would still make dinner. It'd just be really late. But
have you ever tried to make him dinner? And is he very critical? It's just like
I can count on one hand. We've been married 17 years.
He's like, these hot dogs that you made are like,
I make a good manicotti, like a stuffed shell. I can do that. But no, I don't try very often because he can do it twice as fast and it tastes way better than mine. So, and I'm the type, like, I go to the grocery store with a meal in mind. So I'll spend like $50 for a meal. Whereas he's like, no, you just need to get like the staple ingredients so we can make lots of meals. Yeah.
Oh, man. Well, how's it looking?
Really great.
Everything looks okay?
Yeah, really good.
Got it all trimmed up.
Perfect.
Ends are blunt.
Thank you.
Put a little texture at the roots to give you some height.
You're so great to be excited about my same haircut every time.
It's a good haircut. Don't mess with perfection,
It works.
Okay, well.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
So
Thanks for doing this.
Yes.
It's been fun.
Very fun. Tell the family I say hi.
Anything else that you want to say before we take off and go?
This is fun.
Thanks
fun
for being
chatting.
open about it. It's been fun. Like, this has been great. But other than that, I guess you're
perfect.
ready
Free
to rock
go.
and roll.
Thank you.
Okay.